have you guys ever actually repaired? Or has that one fight from 15 years ago stayed with you? You're not doing your kids any good if you're fighting all the time, or if you guys don't actually want to be with each other. And this is not to say that there is any perfect family or marriage. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. There has to be a repair phase. I don't know everything, but I certainly have learned a lot the hard way. So today's question is, or comment is, marriages are hard and some toxic ones aren't worth saving even if kids are involved. This came from providing marriage counseling and divorce counseling and couples counseling, not just people that are married. And I wanted to give my perspective, not as a practitioner or just a human who went through life and learned a lot of things the hard way. So I agree that some aren't worth saving even if kids are involved. So I guess this is for people who might also just believe that if I stick through the marriage for the kids, it's better for them in the long run. And that's not necessarily true. A lot of the things that we think, a lot of the things that we think we are bought into just because we've heard it before, people talked about it, people shared their perspective, and that might or must be the truth because it kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, if I leave my partner and there's kids, they're going to go through this whole separation. They're going to have a tougher life. They're going to be confused. They're too young to conceptualize what a divorce is. So it kind of makes logical sense about what everybody's been saying, that it's better off for the kids if you stay together. Now, every person's situation is different, but look at the alternative. What's really happening when you're staying in a marriage that is lifeless, uh, or like this person says, toxic and not worth saving, even if children are involved? What could be happening is also a lot of arguments, abuse, disrespect, dishonoring, lack of consideration, verbal, physical abuse. A lot of these things could be happening. And those are the more extreme levels. Maybe there's just blandness. Maybe there's just there's no cohesion. There's no unity in the family because if the two parents are not really in union, it's hard to have unity with the kids as well. Not that you can't. Kids can also sense which parent is a little bit more on their own. The kids can sense what mommy does and what daddy does. They're very smart. They know who they can rely on or for what they can rely on, and um, they can tell. And maybe parents can't tell themselves. Like you as a parent can't tell that your kids can tell that there's no unity between you two. But you're probably like, oh, they're kids. They don't understand it. They do. They do. They do. They do. They do. So the alternative is that we stay together. The kids are watching us fight. They are consuming all of the negative energy that we are throwing back at each other. They're learning communication styles based on our lack of love and devotion to each other as partners. You may end up putting your children between you two as a form of battle or barter or winning or losing or picking sides. You may take your aggression out on your child. I've had a lot of mothers after going through therapy and counseling, and they told me one of the biggest changes is that I'm less aggressive with my children. I yell at them less. I just don't yell at them. I don't have the need to do that anymore because all of the weight of the marriage was going on to the kids because it's not just the marriage's fault. It's you as a human being who needs to know how to, in a healthy way, deal with the more negative feelings. Basically, not to put it out onto other people. It's totally okay to be angry, sad, mad, confused, horrified. Like that's normal. That's a part of life. We feel those feelings. But to put it out on somebody else, which happens on accident sometimes when you're untrained, unlearned, and that's totally fine. It happens. Um, but as a parent, we don't become parents usually at the perfect time. We become parents when we become parents or when we choose to become parents. A lot of the times we become parents unknowingly that there's a lot of things that I should probably do before I become a parent. Sometimes life doesn't work that way. I understand. Anyways, so the other side of things that I'm asking you to see is that yes, it seems like, oh, they're going to grow up in a broken home and they're going to be separated. The alternative is that they're still going to be growing in a broken home. Is it really that you want the best for your kids, or you're afraid to make this huge change, which is totally normal as well? It is a huge change. What are what is my community going to think? Am I going to have help? Then there's all these like financial questions and logistical things that I would have to do. And I'm not saying that people are actually not thinking of their kids. It's just kind of like a security blanket of not having to go into the unknown of what is it going to look like if I have to actually do a divorce. Something that, I mean, I don't think even people that want to get a divorce don't want to get a divorce. Like I know that I clearly need to have a divorce, but who wants to have a divorce in their life? But then like any other thing, once you do it, it's like, okay, it happened. It had to happen. Same thing, like, nobody wants to go through a breakup even though they know they need to go to a breakup. I know a divorce and a marriage is something totally different. However, at the same time, it matters to us as much as we have lived to the point that we have lived. So it matters. So, yes, I do believe that some marriages are not worth saving. If something is worth saving, that means it can be saved. If it can be saved, it's worth saving. But if it can't be saved, then it's not worth saving because it just can't be saved. But you still try anyway. People still go to counseling and therapy and try to make it work or try to renew their marriage or I don't know, whatever other intervention that they might try to do. Start over and, okay, I'll quit all this stuff if they're trying to do it alone and whatever else. So, yes, if kids are involved, you really have to see if you, as a human being, a partner, and as a parent, can make a safe environment as you try to work on this marriage if that's what you'd want to do. But a lot of the times, just because you see both parents in a home doesn't mean that you grew up all good and well. It doesn't mean that. For example, a lot of Desi people, we see our parents sleeping in separate rooms at a certain age. Why? So okay, so then let's say if it's not like, oh, we're fighting and we're screaming and blah blah blah, we're not like that. We're just regular, just like regular. Then your children, your son, your daughter doesn't get to see what actual love looks like caring, consideration, romance, respect, communication. They don't get to see that either. So then your kids grow up not really knowing what it should really look like, and then we have to find out the hard way of what it really looks like. So I have seen a lot of people stay for kids. Just because you have kids does not mean that is a reason to stay together. You're not doing your kids any good if you're fighting all the time, or if you guys don't actually want to be with each other. And um, love is this word that's very okay, right. So there's a lot that goes into love. So what I will just say is that if kids don't see parents that actually want to spend time together, like each other's company, care for one another, then what are you modeling to them by staying together? That someone will always be there for you no matter how much shit is going on, or someone will be there silent no matter how much shit is going on, or we just stick it through. Like, what are you really modeling to them? You can be modeling an aggressive household, arguments, financial problems, infidelity, yelling, screaming, abuse. You could be modeling to them Like, if you're disrespecting your partner, whether it's your husband or your wife, your kids are seeing that, then they lose respect for both parents, the one that got yelled at or the one that got talked shit about, and the person who's doing it. Subconsciously, they're losing respect for them. They're losing respect for humanity or their humanity because they're not seeing it. So all of these things happen if you stay, and then you leave the child to later on heal from all of this stuff. Energetically speaking, if you guys are having an argument, like, the home has an energy of itself. And if it's a really decaying energy, then your mind and body and the relationship between you and your spouse is decaying. So is the kids at such a young age, especially if they're young, like 5, 6, 7, 8. They're going to be exhibiting issues in their sleep, in their health, in their attitude, in their demeanor. And also, ooh, this is really good. When kids start seeing parents like, when they see parents negotiating in arguments or taking a stab at each other or any of these things, the kids embody this kind of attitude and communication too. And that's why a lot of parents have issues with their children who are acting like, whatever, disrespectful or disobedient or bratty or whatever. It's because they're watching you guys be brats to each other. Then they assume that bratty behavior. Now, I'm not saying that kids can't exhibit a lot of these things, but if there's no nurturing of husband and wife, wife and husband, the kids are not getting nurturing either. They're getting do this and do that or else, And this is not to say that there is any perfect family or marriage. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. There has to be a repair phase. If there's no repairing between man and wife, you're not going to know how to repair between mother and child, father and child, child to child. Usually, what's happening is there's only fight, silence, fight, silence, or fight, and then we go back to what we usually do. We go back to what we usually do. Either we make up in some way, or we fake make up in some way, or I know I'm going to be able to make you up this way, so I'm going to do that. I know how to shut you up. So the kids are learning the same exact things. I know how to barter. I know how to make you think one thing and do another. And all of this goes on to our adulthood. And then we wonder why. And that's like the purpose of some relationships is you get into relationships to undo a lot of these things, especially if you're trying to do the right thing or be, have the best possible relationships in your life, not just in marriage, in your friendships, in your family, and everything. You start realizing after some of the mistakes you do, after, like, where did that come from? And like, well, what do I do about this? If you're actually on that conscientious journey, you will, you know, let all these things go. This is why it's a case by case basis. You like, yourself if you really want it to work because this person is this person and I'm interested in this person on a deep level. And I know that I'm willing to look at myself as well. And then we have these kids, not kids first. So we have to try, but I really freaking hate you, or I can't stand you, or I'm holding resentment for all the things that you've done, or, I just don't want to be with you, or I made a mistake in marrying you. And now I have to sit with you because we have these kids. Like, there's so many reasons why the kid should not come first. It should be actually because you want to stay with this person. You want to make it work with this person. You want to get back to how it was. You don't know where it went. And yes, I love these children. We have these children together. I can't imagine us not being a family. Great, fine, I get it. But there's underlying things that I'm ignoring, but we have kids and that's the biggest priority. It's not going to work like that. It's just downplaying the whole situation and going back to the same scoreboard all the time, every time, all the time, every time. I think if you love your kids and you love the person that you made your kids with and you think you have a beautiful family and you want to save it and you want to, like, then it's worth it. I think it's worth it. If you really love your children, you love your partner, maybe you fell in love with the person and then things happen. Things do happen. Like, your marriage is going to be tested 100%. That's a fact. But it's about that repairing. Have you guys ever actually repaired? Or has that one fight from 15 years ago stayed with you? So there's a lot of deeper underlying aspects to marriage, which there's more questions here, and I'm going to one by one answer. And these are just some little bits of clues of what's going on or what could be happening. It's true. Some marriages are hard and toxic, and some toxic ones aren't worth saving, even if kids are involved. You could separate, and then the kids see a really healthy, happy mom and a, honorable, stable dad once you separate. And they mature and they understand. And kids know, kids can take more than you give them. It's like it's you that can't handle and understand what a divorce is. Kids can. They'll just be like, oh, okay. So you guys, we can still be a family and they still care about us, but we're just not in love anymore and it happens. Okay. They can take it. They can take it. It's us that are afraid that kids don't get it or that we're going to ruin them. No, they're much smarter and more capable and resilient than we are. We lost a lot of that because we stayed on this earth and endured its constructs. It's worth saving if you love your kids because you love the person you fell in love with and you want to see if that person is still there too. That person may not be there anymore. That's another thing. That person may not be there anymore. You may not be the person that they thought that they wanted to be with forever. That's a reality. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone's heart to endure. I think we came far from nature and we have to deal with who we are right now. And if right now says that I do want to be married, then it's for you and you're going to need to know that it comes with a lot. But if it's not for you, don't force yourself to be in something that you don't really want to be in or you don't believe in or you don't understand. Staying could be even more violent for your children, more work for your children, more work for you, more work for your spouse. Don't force it just because you have kids. But if your heart is telling you to believe in something, go find out for yourself. All right? Thank you so much. Take care. I love you. Allah Hafiz.